we're going to bring in Amy Franck. Amy Franck began her career as a Department of the Army civilian in 2013 as a victim advocate, and she's also founder of the nonprofit Never Alone Advocacy. Amber Fitzwater is a sexual assault response coordinator with the Army and has worked in the SHARP program since 2013. She's also a survivor of sexual assault, and we are bringing in Rich McHugh, an investigative reporter who serves as a correspondent for News Nation. Was a supervising producer in the NBC News investigative unit, where he and correspondent Ronan Farrow spent a year investigating sexual misconduct allegations against the Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. Let's start with you, Amy. Please tell us your story, how you got started doing what you do.
So I started my career as a child abuse investigator and was trained to be a forensic interviewer to interview children that had witnessed violent crimes or been sexually abused. I was a director of a child advocacy center, and I was a military brat growing up. So I saw that right after the Invisible War, that they were making all these changes within the Department of Defense in order to give service members better support, take care of them, and ensure that they got the proper care, support, and advocacy. And so I decided to go back to my roots as a military family member and start helping soldiers. I started at Fort Bliss in 2013 and rose through the ranks and served at Fort Bliss, Fort Meade, Fort Belvoir, U.S. Army Africa and Italy, as well as Virginia. And my commands spanned the entire United States, all of Italy and the continent of Africa. And then I came to Illinois to do some advocacy work with the Reserve Command here, and kept finding that there were egregious rape cases that were being not referred to law enforcement, which is a violation of federal law. A lot of people call me, that I'm having whistleblower retaliation, but really I would define it as is that the Department of the Army is obstructing justice, because you have colonels and generals that are failing to report felony assaults to law enforcement. And when I spoke up, they said, you don't have the right to report this. And I said, I don't have to have permission to report felony crimes. It is counterintuitive to everything that you know. And the case, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, was a young 17-year-old high school student that had to have her parents' permission to be in the military, who was violently raped in the female latrine. And when her fellow service members were told what happened to her, they went to the commander, 3 young girls. Hey, sir, this is what happened to our friend. Can you help her? His response, instead of calling law enforcement per federal law, which is USC CFR 32-105.89, it's been on the books since 2006, he decides to pull in the alleged offender and question him about the assault. And the alleged offender's response to that was he went and found the young victim and beat her up and broke her arm. And her colleagues had to witness her beaten, battered face and broken arm standing in formation in fear next to her offender. And the command did an internal investigation and documented that on a memorandum for record, saying that it was consensual, to which I lost my mind. And then they told me to stand down, that it was a training issue. And I'm like, this is not a training issue.
So it was rape, and then it was retaliation for reporting the rape?
Correct.
And then you were the one who got in trouble for it.
Yeah, so I have over 15 emails where I emailed Major General Miyoko Shanley and Brigadier General Michelle Link as to the issues. And on the 19th of November, 2019, I emailed the same set of evidence and emails to Lieutenant General Charles Luckey, who was the U.S. Army Reserve Command out of Fort Bragg at the time. And the very next day I was suspended for duties. And I've been on a paid suspension since that time for almost 2 years. This November will be 2 years.
And their excuse has been?
That I was providing unsolicited advocacy support, and I violated the command's privacy by reporting that they failed to report felony assaults to law enforcement.
Can you get any help from outside of the military system?
Well, right now, I have a couple of lawyers and another whistleblower law firm looking at my case because they're trying to revoke the requirements to hold my military job from me in order to fire me. So I haven't done anything wrong, and they're attempting to revoke my security clearance, revoke my advocacy credentials, saying that I was unethical because I was mean to somebody. Well, I reported them for violating Military Rules of Evidence 514, which is in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So it's all been above board. I mean, I even have thank you emails from General McConville, the Chief of Staff of the Army's office, saying, thank you for continuing to advocate for our soldiers and saving lives. Like, I've saved more lives during my nonprofit advocacy than they've lost, in the last 2 years. I mean, the fact that a young troop by the name of Asia Graham was raped and then found deceased right before Christmas, and coupled with our advocacy with Rich McHugh's excellent reporting, that offender not only was convicted for Asia Graham's case for 18 years on a deceased victim, but because of Rich's reporting and our advocacy, more victims came forward that this Christian Alvarado had yet more victims. And interestingly enough, Asia Graham is an African-American and German young lady, and she did not have a traditional partner as her friend, and she was made to live just a few doors down in the same barracks with her offender. And a Caucasian, blonde-haired, green-eyed girl that was also victimized by Christian Alvarado was given a transfer to Georgia away from him. So we also have this, this racial disparity going on of how victims are treated as well. Then I have these other officers that are hiding felony rapes, and they're not even being punished. So how they pick and choose how to punish, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, whose relationship is with who? And I think that's kind of what we saw with Rich and Rowan's reporting and journalism on Harvey Weinstein and why they, the catch and kill, right? It's right. Who's associated, where's the powers that be? And how you unpack that is where you start to see. I mean, it's what we just saw with, Governor Cuomo, right? And how it disassembled a lot of the leadership in Time's Up, because people have these relationships and they protect each other, right? And when you unpeel that onion, you see why they're protecting. Like Major General Shanley, she's a 1986 West Point class, right? So some of the Esper, like some of the big wigs in government and in major industries are class of 86 West Pointers. I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm just saying 1 + 1 is 2. And when you look at it holistically, like who's protecting her and why?